1.5 FM. Get everything started here. So again, want to say good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you for those who are tuning in via the radio, patiently, ever so patiently waiting. Those who watch via television as well, get to listen to the music. It was a little black screen there until I got here this morning. Sometimes things just need to be reset. But again, here in the studio this morning, I'm Bronson Williams. We'll be a fantastic guest today. I tell you, this week is going by ever so quickly. The 7th day of May. Can you believe that? 7th day of May already. May just got in here, and we're talking about the 7th day of May. May has 31 days, so before you know it, we'll be talking about June, and then we'll be at the halfway point for the year. I'm telling you, 2025 is going ever so quickly for sure. What's happening locally, what's happening across our nation, what's happening even across our state. We'll talk about those things as well. You too can be my friend and share the Facebook Live video. Be sure to do that. Let me do that right now. Well, maybe. Oh, there it is. And let's just say good morning. Okay. So there, we're live. Well, we've been live. We're whatever that is. Breaking news, of course, Smokey Roberts is accused of sexual battery in a lawsuit by 4 former housekeepers. That's interesting. So Robinson sued the Motown legend and his wife Tuesday, alleging repeated acts of sexual assault and rape by the singer dated back nearly 20 years ago. Let's see here. 4 former housekeepers of Motown legend Smokey Robertson alleged the singer repeatedly raped and sexually assaulted them, according to a lawsuit filed on Tuesday. The suit filed in Los Angeles Superior Court seeks $50 million in damages over the alleged assaults, which women say took place between 2007 and 2024, and labor violations including hostile work environment, illegally long hours, and lack of pay. We believe that Ms. Robinson is a serial and sick rapist and must be reported, the women attorneys John Harris said in a news conference. Many of the allegations acts occurred at Robinson's Chatworth's home. The 4 women say that Robinson would wait until he was alone with them in the house, then sexually assault and rape them over their objections. The singer's wife, Frances, is also named in a lawsuit which accuses her of knowing about the alleged misconduct. It also blames her for the hostile work environment, saying she berated them with language and included ethnic slurs. We believe she was aware of the misconduct by her husband, Smokey Robertson, and that she used their status as correct that she used their status as well as the client's reliance on the living wages in order to keep them in check. The plaintiff's attorney, Herbert Hayden, said regarding Francis' alleged role. So, 2000, what was this? From 2007 to 2014. $50 million. Who knows? Who knows at the end of the day? Who knows? But again, the story said alleged. And if they have evidence, then they have evidence. And if they don't, they don't. Let's see here. If you don't have your real ID before the next flight, you need to have one. Here are the alternatives. If you don't usually take your passport with you to the airport for domestic flights, you will need to, starting if you don't have a real ID, or you can miss your flight. The real ID deadline is today, May the 7th, which means after that date, which is today, you will need one of the approved alternative passes to go through TSA checkpoints. While passports are the most commonly acceptable alternative, there are also other few options which will help you do that. And what are those options? So travelers without a real ID compliant, a license or acceptable alternative beginning May the 7th will not be allowed through the TSA checkpoints. What are some real ID alternatives? If you don't have a real ID before your next flight, these are the TSA approved acceptable alternatives: a state issued enhanced driver's license, EDL, a U.S. passport, a U.S. passport card, a DHS Trust Travelers card, Global Entry, Nexus, Centuries, and Fast, the U.S. Department of Defense ID, including IDs issued to dependents, a permanent residence card, a boarding crossing card, an acceptable photo issued by a federally recognized tribal nation, Indian tribe, Foreign government issue passports, Canadian province driver's license, or Indian or North Affairs or Canada card, transportation work identity credentials, U.S. Citizen Immigration Services employment authorization card, I-766, a U.S. merchant marina credential, or a veteran's health identification card. Yeah, so get your ID, your real ID there. Again, today is that deadline. So, of course, DMVs are pretty much busy. They've been busy for a while, actually. They've been busy for a while. Good morning to those who tuned in via YouTube this morning. That includes Ms. Gwendolyn Swang. Thank you for tuning in and being a consistent viewer to the daily program of Wncr-Tv Now. We appreciate you indeed. So what else is going on in our community here today? One thing I was looking at this morning was the coastal crossover deadline we talked about this a lot, the crossover deadline. And so the House passed a couple of bills, and then they'll have to, do what they do. But one is the bill we talked about, which has been a topic, at least on this platform, is the immense powers and reshaping and realignment of the North Carolina Auditor's Office. And so, let me see here. And so this is it right here. This is according to WRL.com. But of course, we looked at the bill and they had some concerns about the bill. It's the House passed a bill that would expand the powers of the state auditor. The state law already empowers the auditor, currently Republican David Bullock, to probe state and local government agencies to ensure taxpayer dollars are being properly spent. House Bill 549 would expand that power over any entity that received public funds. It would also allow Bullock to hire and fire employees in the state office for purely political purposes, leading Democrats to raise concern about partisan politicization in the office that has potential wielding immense power. Earlier versions of the bill allowed the auditor to investigate any individual who received public funds, but bill sponsors rolled back that proposal amid concern of the auditor would abuse the power. And of course, that was a concern that I had. The fact that they did it almost made me feel like WNCR Now was in the legislative chambers there, because again, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And when you give an opportunity for a person to be able to investigate individuals just because they receive public funds in their individual capacity, depending on who's in that state auditor's office, and I'm not saying that Bullock will do it, but as one person once told me, no, how well you know a person, you don't know what a person will do, and you just don't give that individual that. And also, I don't think you really should give our local state agencies, and I call state agencies local. Everything in North Carolina is local, right? To me, even the power to fire people for purely political reasons. Politicizing the auditor's office, I think, is really going to take away the credibility and the integrity that office can have. Careered employees who are there to just do a job, no matter who the auditor is, who's elected, makes it, I think, better. But again, I'm not one of the 120 votes in North Carolina General Assembly who can advocate that belief and ideal or ideology. But when you talk about an office that really supposed to be about ensuring that the dollars given to North Carolina, the dollars that North Carolina collects from North Carolinian taxpayers, and et cetera, are spent the way they were supposed to, that policies were being followed, that things were doing what they're supposed to. Now, that alone is enough. But then you have the North Carolina General Assembly. Again, we know this because we've been watching the program, right? When you have the auditor who says, well, not only do I want you to check behind the finances of governmental agencies and political subsections of North Carolina, meaning municipalities and townships and counties, I want you to now be in charge of the Board of Elections and to some degree as to how that works as well. At what point will the auditor's office be doing so much that they cannot do their primary function, and then you do have waste, abuse, and fraud going on in our North Carolina state that we, because of the policies that were enacted many, many years ago, North Carolina enjoys a number of benefits, especially when it comes to insurance costs, when it comes to how banks lend to North Carolina municipalities because they know what the stringent requirements that our state government implies to them. Now, this is something that, will you break that situation? When you think about the scarcity of money and lending capabilities with the ongoing state of the economy, what that looks like, what that's going to feel like, and we're seeing some of the impacts of some of the tariffs going in now. I mean, there's a number of things that you really want to really look at, and how do you overcome those as we move from one place to another. So I'm not sure, as I said yesterday, I'm not so sure that North Carolina General Assembly is getting it right. And then the question is, how many people who watch this program or hear about the program, or just in general, people in general, who are really engaged with what their state representative is doing? Because to me, it seems as though our state elected people get free passes to go to Raleigh, North Carolina, and do whatever they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. And the second there's any ounce of political pressure on some issues, not every issue, but the second there is some ounce of political pressure, they're back down. Now, there's some issues that have been political pressure. They sort of kind of back down, then they gave the resilience. Say, look, they're going to be here. We just got to muscle through it and get it done because this is for North Carolina. Right or wrong, I've seen them do that as well. But what I do know is elected people who want to go back to those elected offices get scared when voters organize. You want to see some politicians engage in what the general citizens in our communities and our states believe is fair and right. You start organized and get organized and stay organized and stay in the public view of your concerns, your deliberate intentions, and how you will vote them folks out of office. Because the only way they're there is because, and I'm going to tell you this, you cannot redistrict or gerrymander right. At the end of the day, that it is impossible to do that. It is impossible to say, I'm going to carve out morality. I'm going to carve out right. I'm going to carve out doing good. You can't do that. It's impossible. Right crosses all lines. It cannot be drawn out, right? And so if people are truly about being right, I don't care what the lines look like. And this is why it is so important. And I'll preach this the day I die, unless I see something differently in my little lifetime, is that we've got to get out of this process that people who are of a different party, of a different race, of a different gender or whatever is just a polar opposite difference from us. You can take an atheist and a believer and have them in the same room, and I guarantee you there's going to be some similarities. There's going to be some similarities. But one of the tested and tried things, if you separate the tall versus the short, the young versus the old, the uneducated versus the educated, the rich versus the poor, the zip code versus this zip code, whatever type of ways you can separate people, political party by political party, whatever it is, county by county. And we do a darn good job here in Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, doing this county versus county separation. And then you have state legislators who will go to Raleigh and further that. And they've been doing that for years. And we continue to vote these same frame people back into public office and think it's going to go away. And all we do is lie to ourselves every single day. Oh, I wish we could have one city. No, you don't, because if you did, you would start voting differently. If you did, you would start thinking differently. If you really wanted these things, you're not going to keep voting for the same old people who can come back and bring you the same old garbage. It just wouldn't happen. Now, do I say everybody's elected position is bad? Absolutely not. There are some people who are elected to public office who try their best, I believe, consistently to move the needle forward. Now, do they have the support of others to make it happen? Perhaps not. Otherwise, it'll be done. But I do believe that we are our own demise. And I mean people in general. So I'm not talking about one subgroup over another. I'm talking about any eligible voter in North Carolina. We are our own demise. Caller, good morning on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bronson.
Good morning.
I'm sitting here listening to you this morning, and I said, he hit the nail on the head again. I wish this election cycle, locally or state or nationally, people stop voting for folks just because. Vote for people because they have some substance. They're educated with the laws and the content of what is going on. I refuse to go to the poll and vote just because somebody is black or white, or my friend said, or some mess they have got up in the pulpit and said. I'm fed up with it. Politicians have become truly self-serving. And I'm at the point in my life, as I feel today, just about sick and tired of looking at them. You know who is self-serving. Mm-hmm. You can see that. The writing is on the wall. And we got 4 seats up this term. People, please vote individuals in who have your interests at heart, that will get out and stomp the ground and advocate for you as the people who voted you in. This self-serving stuff got to go. That goes down to the president, down to local government. It's a shame we're at this point. But I hope and pray that we really vote people in that have some substance, some people that's going to look out for us and help us overcome some of the hardships that we face here in the Rocky Mountain area. I look at these apartments across the street from me. Tell me Billy Jury owns them. They do exactly nothing. Trash everywhere. Yesterday, bad as my legs are, I'm out picking up trash. Somebody else's. When is it going to stop? They need some type of barrier from the... I thought any public place like that should have a barrier anyway. A bush or fence or something. Apparently not. Old dogs over there. They bark all the time. I'm fed up with some of the surroundings in this area. I really am. And yes, I've been spoiled and I've been blessed. I have lived in some pretty nice areas in Raleigh. And I don't forget my roots. But one thing my mother did always said to us, it don't matter where you live as long as you have respect within your household. It don't matter what you got in your house. Let your window treatment be nice. Let people think or imagine. And we forget those old techniques, old sayings. I just don't. I just can't see some of the things that I'm seeing, and people don't try to improve. We don't have to stay down. Build yourself up. Read. I don't even think they give out library cards no more. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I I had library cards for my children and myself. We went to the library and we read. You can have that book open even if you ain't reading. So, anyway, that's my spiel this morning, but I hope we don't continue to put in self-serving individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. 252-407-8432. That's 252-407-8432 is the number to call to participate in today's conversation as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. Want to say good morning to those who chimed in on Facebook thus far. That includes Gwendolyn Swain, John Jordan, Deborah Gunter, Jacqueline Leonard Randolph, Allison Williams, Gloria Brake, Reginald Manning, Commissioner Harris, James Bullock, Betty Archibald, Marvin Bowden, Candy Staten, and Betty Jenkins. Good morning to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Wncr-Tv Now. Again, as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation, before the break was talking about what the House passed with the auditors situation and giving them more power, but of course did slim back on the individual situation because, again, you know me, Stanford prison experience, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, another thing they did, which I thought was pretty decent, and this is the House also passed a bill giving parents more access to their children's medical records and conversations with providers. Under current law, minors can consent some medical care treating sexually transmitted diseases, pregnancies, mental health, substance abuse without needing approval from their parents. The House on Tuesday passed House Bill 519 titled Parents' Medical Bills of Rights. The bill, which passed 68 to 41, would roll back the existing privacy law so that allows minors to consent to treatment related to pregnancy, excluding abortion services, but physicians would also conduct examinations without a parent consent if they believe the child could be suffering from parental abuse or neglect that are required to be reported to social services under the law. Critics of the bill fear that minors won't seek out help if they need it or if they know that their parents will accompany them to the examination room or have access to the medical records. Bill supporters say that they're having access to their child records enables parents to provide the best care. They also argue if parents' health insurance pays for the child's treatment, the parents should be knowing they're paying for it. Now, obviously, I'm gonna look at what this see how this bill. I'm gonna look at this bill real quick. Bill 519, 68 to 41 in the House. There, let me see if I can find this bill. So 109 voted on the measure. NC House on the measure yesterday. Here it is. And so let's look at these results here. So basically you had a majority of Republicans voting in favor of it, and a majority of Democrats voting no. Had a couple of excused absences and a couple of, for Democrats and Republicans. Now you had Republican Alan Chester not vote. He didn't vote on the bill at all. McKinley, Pickett, and Reeder didn't vote on the bill. Representative Willingham voted no on the bill. So just the base on the bill, just reading from the news article, I would think it's an okay bill. Now, again, you can go back and look at other, well, they were 3 pages, so it can't be with so much in it. So I can kind of read through this real quick. Let me see. I can read through this real quick because on this one, I would probably disagree with Democrats' stance on this particular bill. And there it is. I can be a Democrat and disagree with Democrats. And I don't care if they like it or not. But so let me see. An act of revising law related to when minors can give effective consent medical care. Yep. Yeah, just a couple of strike throughs. I don't see a whole lot of new additions to it. So basically, it is the former bill. That's completely intact right there. Any minor may give effective consent to a physician, assistant, nurse practitioner listed to practice in North Carolina for medical health for the diagnosis and treatment. So they striked out prevention, but for the diagnosis and treatment of pregnancy. Okay, not prevention. To diagnose and treatment of it, but when it comes to pregnancy prevention, they wouldn't be. Okay, so they wouldn't have just solely the minors' consent when it comes. Okay, got it. Parental rights. Yep. Yeah. So again, a 3-page bill, very simple and sweet to read. And yeah, so for me, again, I'm not a vote in a General Assembly, but I think that parents certainly should have access to minor records. One of the very caveats is if they're paying for it, they certainly should have access to it. So, and I will say that a parent has a little more years of experience than a child does on how to deal with issues and maybe ask additional questions that a child normally would not ask. So to that regard, I would say that and it was some Democrats, I will say this, that did vote for it. So it wasn't just completely Republican. So there are some Democrats that obviously think like me as well. And that is Cunningham, Al Jones, Pearson, Quick. They voted yes for the measure as well. Not one Republican voted no on it. Some not voting at all, which is wonder why they didn't vote at all, but no Republican voting no against it, and 4 Democrats voting in favor of it. And again, simple bill addressing one singular issue makes sense to me. What happens to it between now and then, I have no earthly idea. But again, that's just my thought process on that. Good morning also to Ray Daughtry. Thank you for tuning in. Andre Smiley, good morning to you. Through an interesting experiment, the Stanford Prison experiment was flawed because the creator inserted himself in the role and ruined objectivity. No, the experience is what it is, and it turned out to be that absolute power corrupts absolutely, and anyone who doesn't take that from it, that's your prerogative. I'm not even go back and forth even with that, because we saw through the reading, through the actual video from the incidents as to what those individuals would do. And even I'll further this. One, the professor had to stop the whole daggone thing because of what was going on there. But 2, it also is a prime example how outside influences can influence a person or group of people who are in power and causes them to do things that ordinarily you wouldn't think they would do. So again, here was ordinary people on both sides of the aisles. Nobody did any criminal activity. Nobody had any true law enforcement trainings and this, that, and the third. They were randomly selected. And within that small time frame that they were in that basement of Stanford University, they did had people do things that was just inhumane, right? And so it is a very good experiment, a very good research. And anyone who disagrees with it upholds the ideal of absolute power. And that is certainly what some folks are trying to do across our country. And I guarantee you it will lead to a downfall of America as we know it today. And it is the wrong direction to go in. And I will stand on all 10 toes and say that every single time and be bold in that conviction. Be bold in that conviction. So those who have not read it, there may be documentaries on it as well, beyond the ones that I've seen and books that I've read. Google it, read it for yourself, and just see how people are, at the end of the day, when it comes to absolute control. And again, also that comes with politicians sometimes making careers out of offices. They then to begin to amass absolute power because they know how systems work and know how sometimes to go through the weeds and this, that, and third to try to get some things done. Again, sometimes for their own personal interests or people whom they like. And that is also damaging as well. So all of those things are interconnected when it comes to what we're doing in our country. So good morning also to Mary Helen. Thank you for tuning in to WNCR-TV Now as we continue to talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. So on that bill, my friends, while Republicans support it, I think they got that one right. Don't know what will come out with it with the Senate piece of the bill, if it'll stay the same or what have you. But I think they got that one right. And to my fellow Democrats, I don't know what your talking point was, but the bill seemed to be very plain and simple to me. Hey, Carl. Good morning.
Mr. Bronson, I need to ask $1 million question looking for $1 trillion answer. Do you feel that children have too much power as far as their upbringing?
That's something I had to think about. Yeah.
Another question. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that teenage girls should attend a public school when they're pregnant?
All right, so your first question, do children have too much power? And then the other piece that teenage girls attend school when pregnant. Uh-huh. Yeah, so I'm going to take a break and I'm going to come back with you, okay?
All right.
All right, take care. I'll be right back in a second. Don't you go anywhere. It's WNCR-TV Now as we talk about things impacting our station, our state, our nation, and our local community.
The trained staff at Promised Land Child Care Center is dedicated to nurturing the growth and development of your children in a safe, caring environment. We are open 24/7 with affordable pricing on full, part-time, and drop-in care. Call Promised Land Child Care today or visit us online to learn more.
ALB Building Company is a full-service general contractor. Big or small, they can handle it all. Renovations, additions, or new construction. Think ALB Building Company. We're available at 919-803-4911. That's 919-803-4911. We're ready to transform your vision into reality. ALB Building Company, 919-803-4911.
Greetings, beloved. I'm Pastor J.T. Worthy of the St. James Missionary Baptist Church of Rocky Mount. Tune in each Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the word, worship, and witness of the St. James Church in our Great Awakenings broadcast right here on WNCR-TV.
All right, and welcome back to WNCR-TV Now as we continue to talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation. What a great segue there for me to step out for a moment. So anyway, so right before that quick break, caller called in and again asked the question, do children have too much power? And so I think about historically the powerless child, right? Whereas the child, you didn't care about the child's feelings and emotions. You say, hey, this is the way you're going to do it because I say this is the way you're going to do it type situation. And some people say, hey, that scarred them. And some people say it was the best thing could happen in life because they understood and appreciate the values of their upbringing because of how they were brought up. And so in today's society, it is, what does a child want? Let's look at those emotional issues that a child is going through because they're little human beings. They have feelings. They have emotions. They can be scarred rather for the rest of their life. And so then the question was asked, do children have too much power in today's society? And I would almost say that in some instances, yes. In others, you don't want to depower a child too much as that they can be taken advantage of either. So you have to have a middle road type situation where you help a child recognize his or her strength. But also understand that while they are a child, they do things as a child. And then when they get older and want to make decisions differently than what they're going through as a child, then they are free to do that. And then there are some things that as a child you do give what we consider in daycare free play, child choice type situation, because you allow them to also think beyond the rigid curriculum, right? Because you don't want to stifle creativity. You don't want to stifle an opportunity to allow a child to explore and be innovative. So it's a slippery slope. But I think to the caller's question, do a child have too much? And in many cases, yes. And in today's society, absolutely, I would agree with that. And so you got to find out where that balance is. I think we are kind of crossing a bridge, or have already crossed it maybe many years ago, as to what children do. And again, I think the North Carolina Republicans here in this instance, when it comes to child medical and giving parents access to things, are kind of pulling some of those things in a more of a direction that it probably should be in when it comes to that. And the idea that children may not seek medical help with issues and this, that, and third, I mean, that's a possibility. But again, when I think about a person who has lived at least longer than a child has been on this earth, should have a lived experience to help that child navigate through things. But at the same time, I think it also speaks to that child and parent relationship, that child doesn't feel comfortable sharing something with their parent. And maybe because the parent's too strict, maybe whatever, feeling embarrassed or whatever that emotion is. I have no idea because I can't speak for that position. But at that age, there should be, I think that's more relationship oriented than it is legislatively anyway. But that's another story for another day. And the other question, should pregnant children attend school? They should do something. They should not forfeit their right to be educated, for sure. I would shy away from creating a school for pregnant teens, because then you would have everybody say, well, I want to go to school with pregnant teens type situation. So then that will do things, I think, that would just probably create more issues. But parents should discuss things with their children, but at the end, be a parent, love and encourage your child. But remember, God put you there as a parent. Yes, it's similar to the same sentiments that I had in regards to that situation. But I'm about people getting education. And you say, well, alternative education. So it is a pregnant teen going to school. I think it's hard enough. And does it then maybe encourage other teens that want to get pregnant? Probably it does. I mean, there's probably science to probably show you that, or research. So it's a double-edged situation as well. I think those are two cool questions. And they are, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, especially to the latter about should teens go to school. Again, you can't deprive them of their education. I think that's constitutionally, whether they're pregnant or not. It doesn't say whether they're pregnant or not, they should not have an education. So I think that they still have a right to be educated. But the question wasn't that. The question was, should they go to public schools with other children? And the leaning part of me would say yes, that they would still continue to go to school with the other children, to continue to maintain those social skills, to be able to have help when they need it. They also let other children see some of the issues that go through being pregnant, right? But again, you can see that at your own house if your mom is pregnant again. And I saw, there's a whole bunch of situations there. The ultimate goal is that you continue to do a better job at disencouraging teen pregnancy. That is, I think, the more thing that one can do to be engaged with that. And how do you not get yourself in that situation when it comes to teen pregnancy? But again, you had, 16 and Pregnant used to be a TV show on MTV. And this is a thing that society watched. And then you start seeing even more heightened pregnancies across our country. And not saying that teens that get pregnant before, because certainly they did. People were back and they getting pregnant before teens, getting pregnant at 12. So that's nothing new at the end of the day. But can you curb that? I think you can. And it's going to be more community involvement in even shunning teen pregnancy. Right? You say, well, why would you shun someone got pregnant? That's a gift of God and this, that, and third. One's going to argue there's a right way for folks to conceive a child versus how some do it. So that would be my thoughts on those two questions there. In Baltimore, there was a school just for pregnant teens. There was a public school. Yeah. And that's what I said. I said they would probably have a school like for pregnant teens. But again, I just think the situation with creating a school for just pregnant teens would be, well, I'm going to get pregnant because I don't like the school I'm going to. So therefore, I'm going to go to this pregnant school and be with all these other pregnant women type situation. And so I don't think that's a good thing to do. I hear and saw, I guess, Baltimore trying to deal with that situation. But I think it also, perhaps for some, not many, but there's some kids that probably literally got pregnant because they just wanted to go to that school of pregnant teens, because the mom is probably going to talk about, for future moms, to talk about, you know, how different the school is, how they let you do this, how you got to carry books and all these other type of things that was probably implemented in the school to ensure that the mother has a healthy pregnancy. I get it 100%. The question, though, is when we create facilities like that, then we are promoting teen pregnancy. And I would hope that we are not promoting teen pregnancy at any strength of the nation. Schools definitely need to have an alternative. Schools definitely need to have an alternative to going to school for pregnant teens. There are pros and cons, because bullying other teens thinking it's a good idea. Parents should have to make the best choices. Yeah, I mean, again, it is a situation. Now the question is, what about the males that made them pregnant? You know, I don't know what you do about the males that made them pregnant. Then the question is, are they even in school in the first place? In some cases, some of them ain't even in school. And this goes to decision makings that folk make. Again, it speaks to a whole bunch of other issues. Hey, caller, good morning.
Mr. Boston, I asked that question about kids having more power. I believe it was Monday morning. I woke up and it was talking about Carrie's son wouldn't speak to him because they lost the playoff. And everybody seemed to be so sad about it. And I'm thinking to myself, is that newsworthy? He should have taken his tail and just did what was necessary to do. I mean, why are you going to start speaking to your daddy because they lost the playoff? He wasn't playing by himself, and even if he were. And learn that you can't win everything. That's right. What he should have been trying to take you. But they thought it was newsworthy. And I was saying, too much power? To let people know that you got a child in your household to get upset with you and won't speak to you because you didn't do something you felt that he should have done. Bring back the old ways. I didn't say abuse, but bring back the old ways. Thank you.
Thank you. So, you know, again, an interesting society that we live in for sure. Appreciate the questions, and so hopefully that'll give you all something to talk about throughout the day that we generally don't talk about, right? Teen pregnancy, what happens with the boy, what happens, should it be in alternative schools and things of that nature. That's that. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm sure somebody was pregnant when I was in school. I'm going to ask some of my friends who was it. I'm sure somebody probably was. Oh, I think I do remember one girl, right? Yeah. She passed away. But anyway, I will see you tomorrow to do it all over again on Wncr-Tv Now as we talk about things impacting our state, our city, and our nation.